Good morning, all.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Yes,
Good
madam.
morning.
Okay. Very good morning to one and all. This is Pranali Wagh. On behalf of Shahanankar Kachi Engineering College, I welcome you all on the fourth day of AICT IST sponsored online refresher program on developing secure IoT applications. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce our today's guest speaker, Mr. Ramesh Kharat sir. Sir is a corporate trainer at a prior TechnoWorld and provide training on Red Hat Linux, AWS, Azure, OpenStack, DevOps, and so on. He has more than 15 years of experience in designing, implementing, and managing IT services as project manager and technical head in ISP and data center environment with core expertise in Unix technology. He has trained 100 plus corporate and retail batches till now. He received Enterprise Excellence Award in Reliance Communication for creating several lines of defense to restore mission critical application in minimum time. Sir has awarded across Tata's global platform with Saumil Award for data center consolidations and annual saving of zero point 0.8 or zero point 0.8 million. Sir, we welcome you all. Now I request you to start with your sessions. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for warm welcome. Welcome. I'm very happy and glad to see you all here. So today we will be discussing something about very interesting topic that is called as IoT network security. All right, guys. So before starting the actual network security part, I would like to discuss something about what is the fundamentals behind the IoT and what is the IoT network and what is the IoT network security. So these three topics will be discussed here today, along with very fantastic demonstration of the security as well. I will try to show you how we can create multiple security encryptions and decryptions technology. All right, guys. So let me share my screen because I have certain. I would like to show you by drawing some diagrams. What is IoT? What is IoT network and IoT network security? Let's start. What is IoT? So I will discuss about the IoT in. I will discuss about with the some case studies which are being used in the industry, so that you will get a glimpse of it. What is happening in the industry on the IoT platform. So let me share my screen so that you can see it, and please somebody confirm that if you are able to see my screen. Yeah, can you see this is my screen? Okay, so IoT stands for
Sir, your screen is not visible.
yeah, screen is not visible. Can you see that right?
Sir, you have to share it.
Yeah, I share it. Yeah, okay. Let me share it. Okay, all right. I hope that it is now visible. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So what is IoT? IoT is nothing but Internet of Things. This has been come into picture. This is there in since while in the IT industry. Various business platforms, various business applications and business owners are using this IoT, I think since couple of decades, as per my knowledge. So what is actually this, this has been, where this has been used effectively? Let me explain you that. Yeah. So IoT is Internet of Things, and let's say consider one scenario, that medical scenario. There are medical industries, defense industries, where IT industries, wherever you need to have some hardware, you need to get some data, live data from some events, from some incidents, from some activities, and then that event or incident activities or the data has to be transferred to the backend servers, and from that server the data has been made available online to on the application, mobile applications. So consider the one scenario that it is, let's say people are preparing for in sports like anything. So there are lots of players are doing lot of activities. I would like to give the Olympic example for this one, how IoT is playing a major role in the Olympics preparation. So there are, let's say, one athletic is there, or the group of the athletes are there, and they are basically, let's say, running, and they want to increase the speed. They want to, let's say, complete the 100-meter or maybe a 400-meter or 900-meter running race very fast. So they would like to optimize their performance. They would like to see how they can basically run fast and complete uh, that particular 100-meter running in the less time of that. So how we can use IoT technology in that one? So what people do, that they use some electronic circuits. Okay, they put it into the different places at the body of the athletic, and there will be a wireless connection. Okay, might be some CDMA connection or some GSM connection, which is put into that particular card. And so let's say this is athletics here. Okay, and there is some CDMA card here inside that one, or GSM card, which is a wireless connection, and that whatever the performance or body is giving the response to that activity will be captured by this particular electronic chip, and with the help of this wireless card, that will be transmitted back to the server. Let's say that server is in the cloud. Okay, then you receive a data from the various, let's say, teammates, right, at various time, various days, and various activities. Okay, so through this wireless communication, it will be stored on some, let's say, cloud or somewhere, and you will, as a software developer, will work on that data, and then nice graphical analysis of the fitness of this particular person or team members will be shown on this particular graphs. This is the one of the example. Now this person will get trained, or he will be observed and monitored continuously every day. Okay, and they will make a changes in his habits, or maybe an angle of the hand, angle of the leg, or something like that, so that it will go automatically to the server. The changes will be shifted to the server, and then automatically the result will be shown on the graphs, very nice graphs, right? So this is one of the important example of it, right? Now this particular entities can be replaced by anything. You can use in the medical industry, you can use in the defense industry, you can use anywhere, right? You can use in the agriculture industry, anywhere you can put this IoT applications or IoT devices anywhere, right? The same phenomena is there. You will use wireless communication. You will transmit the data from this place to server, and server to mobile phone, or maybe a laptop or some other application over the browser. Okay, with the wireless communication. So what is important here? So this is basically IoT things, right? IoT is nothing but why the people can replace this with the, let's say, robots. You can replace this with the, let's say, different drone cameras. You can replace this with the, let's say, some firefighting instruments. You can replace this with the some of the agriculture instruments. You can place this kind of internet, this kind of electronic chips inside this one. Now these devices can be, this can be anything, right? You can use Arduino, you can use different microprocessors, right? You can use, and there will be definitely some operating system inside that particular device, and that operating system will have some components defined, some program defined, and then they will there will be some sensors here, and the sensor will pick up the data, and that data is critical. that data is important. It can be a business application, it can be a financial application, it can be commercial, it can be defense, anything that can be, you can deploy this IoT thing anywhere in the world, right? In any part of the domains, right? So now the point, this particular session which we would like to discuss, we want to discuss about the networking part and the security of that IoT. So point here is that data is critical here. So you need to transfer the data from this particular device to the server. So data, this is the data transmission is happening. Okay, now if you are transmitting the data or values which has been captured by your sensor in plain text format, then somebody can take out that data. Okay, that is called as a man in middle attack, right? And that data can be captured by somebody, and somebody can modify that, and then it will be sent to this one. So your original integrity of the data is completely vanished, right? So this is a dangerous stuff. So because if you give the wrong information to the application, then application will provide you the wrong results. So if in the case of the medical or in case of the financial, this will impact very badly, right? So it is very important that the data, the communication between these devices to this server and from this server to mobile application should be secure. So the data which is transmitted over here and over here should be in the encrypted format. This is one thing. So now, we'll see about how we can encrypt this data, or what are the different methodologies that we need to use to transmit the data over the server and then from the server to the mobile application. Now, all these communication happen with RST, okay, RESTful APIs, right? Such like this is also RESTful API, that is you can use HTTP or some other layer 7 application, layer 7 to access this particular data and play with that one. So the data which is captured in this particular by the electronic circuit, okay, and then it will be transmitted to the server. Basically this is transferred in the JSON format or some other format which is comfortable, right? And then that is stored in the different databases, maybe a SQL database or no SQL database, and then the data will, then you will write algorithm on that one to get the data. So now how we can access and what are the different methodologies, how we can safeguard the data. So I consider this as one of the application only, right? And if there is, let's say, one of the application which you are developing in the AI, which you are developing in the ML, or which you are developing in the, let's say, some banking application is there, the way you provide the security, the similar stuff that you need to provide, similar type of the security also need to be provided to the in the IoT stuff, right? IoT phenomena. Now, what is IoT networking then? So we say that IoT and IoT networking, then IoT network security. So how we can form the network of the IoT IoT devices? So guys, whenever you want to form the network of these IoT devices, because if you are getting the input from the different devices, right? These are some of the electronic chips, and they are providing the different input. So right, so that data has to be captured, and that data need to be sent. If you want to take the data from all the devices together, and you have to work on that one, then the data which is transmitted from the electronic circuit over the wireless CAN, then it will be captured and it will be stored in the database, okay, and then it will be transmitted back to the server again. So this can be your kind of a CDN network, okay, which can be used in the middle, or we can use different kind of the mixer switches to capture the data, and then you can send it over the backend. But normally in this scenario, normally this is avoided in many places, but if you need this one, then you need to connect through the wireless or through wired connections also. In case some cases are required, you can use that as well with the help of some LAN ports, and then that data can be, or optical fiber connections, and that can be transmitted over the internet. So this is basically very fundamental stuff about the IoT, and this is what need to be understood. So what I thought to, because most of the participants over here are, or viewers over here are from the college or maybe from the different industry, And I thought to, rather than making it a little bit technical jargons, I thought to give this example to you guys. I hope that you have understood how the data is flowed from the electronic devices which are used in some applications, or at the ground level, or from that to the server, and from that to the users, right? Or the whoever will be a person or entity who is going to monitor or measure the performance of this application, right? So that will be seen in the mobile phone, or maybe a laptop, or some web browsers, right? Or maybe mobile applications. All right, guys. So now, to explain the concept of this networking security, I would like to show you some more things in this one. So let's take one example. Consider that you have a very interesting data. Let's say, let me erase this one, guys. And consider that you have one banking application. Okay, and in banking application, you would like to, this is, let's say, server. This is in the data center. Okay, and in that server, very important database is there. And consider this is your bank database. Okay, this is your bank database. Now, think about the situation that how we can access this database or application from outside. Or you can consider that there is one more server here which is sitting here, and which is application or web server, right, guys? And this is a web server, web or app server. Now, some users are trying to access this web application from their mobile phone or something like that, right? And then some query will be fired from the this web application server to the database, and then the query will be given back, and then data will be reverted back to the users, right? Now, this is the basic scenario. This is two-tier or three-tier application, three-tier architecture is there: web, app, and database. Okay, now this is the same thing will be there. The data will be captured from the different electronic devices, and it will be stored in this web app, or maybe in database, right? And then you'll generate some logic, and then users will access this particular application from this. And the same thing like bank application. Only thing is that we are collecting the data from some electronic devices. Okay, that is the only difference between normal applications or the IoT applications. Now, the point here is that, let's say, consider one example that some hacker, why security is important? Because your data is important. Why you need to provide the security to your application or data? Because it is important. If you don't have any, let's say, take a simple example. If you don't have a money in the let's say home, you will not provide the security. Let's say there is an office, there is a very important things are there in the office, right? There are a lot of valuable assets are there, and that's why we keep the security guard at the door of the office, so that no unauthorized people will not enter in the system office, right? Now, consider that you have very important data inside the server. You have collected that data from the IoT stuff, right? You had taken it from the IoT device, and now the data has now stored in the database. And somebody from some other part of the world, or maybe from the same part of the world, right? They are trying to access your database or something like that. Now, the first thing which is important or required to access the data, let's say that, consider one scenario that the person who is sitting in the, let's say, some part of the other world, and now your server is in the India, how that person will come to know the address of your machine? Because to steal the data from any hard disk, right? Because data is stored in the database, and database is stored in the hard disk, and finally people are trying to take out the data from the hard disk. So if at all anybody would like to take out the data from the hard disk, what is the first thing that is required? The first thing that is required is the IP address. Then how the IP address, anybody will get the IP address of your machine, right? You are sitting somewhere, India, and some other person is from some other country and trying to hack the system. But how to hack the data, to hack the system, you need some address, right? And that IP that is called as IP address. Now, how to get the IP address of any system? So let me show you one example, guys, how we can get the IP address. And that example is that, let's say this is my Windows command prompt, and I want to find out the IP address of, let's say, any bank, or let's say I want to find out the IP address of google.com. So I can use simple command guys called as nslookup google.com, and here I can get the IP address of all these machines. Can you see this? I got the IP address. This is 216.58.196.174 is the IP address of the system, right? Which system? This is Google Systems IP address. So similarly, let's say if I want to find out the IP address of sbi.com, I can easily find out that, guys. This is very easy. sbi.com. Look at this. I got the IP address of sbi.com once. Because just having the domain name doesn't make a sense, right? We need an address of the system, and to get the IP address of the system, we need to know to get the IP address of the system. We can use the DNS system, which is across the globe, and we can use this nslookup command to get it, or you can just ping also. You will get the IP address of the any domain which you want to hack, right? So now you got the IP address, right? You got the address, because if you want to steal something from any home, you need an address of that home. So similarly, if you want to steal something from the any hard drive or any server, you need to know the address of that one, and we got the address, right? It is so easy to get the address, guys. Now, but point here is that if you are discussing about the network security of IoT applications, the very important point is that, guys, you have the IP address on the web server, we have the IP address on the web server. Which electronic component do we assign the IP address? If I ask this question, where do we assign the IP address? Do we assign the IP address to the mouse? Do we assign the IP address to the hard disk? Where do we assign the IP address on the system? So most of you might give the answer that we assign the IP address to the one of the electronic component which is present in the system, that is called as the NIC, or it is also called as Ethernet card, or it is also called as LAN card. There are different names to, or we also call it as a wireless LAN card. So all the things are same, that is LAN card basically, right? And we assign the IP address with the help of operating system to the LAN card. So LAN card is an electronic device, and IP address is assigned to the LAN card, and people are accessing. Think about the one situation, guys. We don't have a LAN card to the system. What will happen? That system will become a standalone machine. We will not be able to talk to that machine. We will not be able to bring that system into machine. So LAN card is a very, very important entity. That is the only medium, that is the only device, electronic device through which we can access the system. So sometime many people ask me one question that, sir, if something goes wrong with the LAN card and if it is a production server, what to do? How we can bring it? Let's say system is sitting in the, let's say, Australia data center. We are sitting in India, okay, and we want to access that system, and the LAN card is failed. It's a difficult task, right, guys? So there is another way, that is we can access the system, that is called as a console, and that console is connected by using the serial port of the LAN card. Serial port of the system, not LAN card, serial port of the system. Okay, so serial port is nothing but it is the communication happens in the serially, and it is calculated with the help of baud rates. Okay, so we can access this system from the, even though it is in the Australia, we can access the system from India, even though your LAN card is failed, if at all there is a console or some connection attached to the serial port, right? And that is very important. But from here we cannot start the applications, we cannot run the applications. All right, so that is the reason we need a LAN port, because it is a parallel communication device. Now so now we have understood one thing here, that to take some data from the system, you need a LAN card. Okay, you need a LAN card, and without LAN card you cannot connect the system. And for that, to get the IP address of the LAN card, we can easily use a nslookup command or something like that, right? And okay, and now point here is that how hacker enter into the system through the LAN card. This is very basic, this is very fundamental thing I am right now discussing, guys, and this is very important to understand. If at all you want to understand the big encryption and decryption technology, it is important to understand why we need to do the encryption and what is the agenda behind that one. Okay, so that is the reason I am explaining this very basic fundamental security. Okay, now we got to know that there is a LAN card, with which we can assign the IP address and through which we can assign the application. So what is there in the LAN card? What is the big thing about the LAN card? Okay, so if I want to enter into any home, if to take the data from the home or take some money or steal something from the home, I need to enter from the doors of the LAN card, right? Doors of that particular door of the home. Otherwise, we will not be able to enter into that one. So similarly, there are multiple doors to the LAN card. So what that doors are? So let me explain you that doors, guys, to you. So in couple of minutes, what is the door? So this is your LAN card. Consider this is your LAN card. Okay, and there are certain doors are there. Let's say that, or I can draw it here. This is a door. This is one door. This is another door. Okay, and some of the doors are like that. Let's say there is one door called as door number 22, and this door number is used to transmit the data, or SSH works on this door. You might be knowing that there is one more door called as 80 number door, and that is used for HTTP, right? Transmitting the data in the accessing the websites, right? We use a 80 number door. There is another door called as a 443 door, and that is used for HTTPS connection. Okay, now you might be aware about that there is a 20 and 21 number door is there, which is used for the FTP. There is another door to the LAN card which is called as a 23 number door, and that is nothing but a telnet. There is one more door to the LAN card that is called as a 25 number door, and that is for SMTP, that is for Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. There is 110.111.143 for IMAP and POP3. So many. We normally use 3306 door number to run our database, right? MySQL or something like that. So for this LAN card, there are a lot of doors are there. So how many doors are there to the LAN card? 65,536 doors are there. And these doors are called as ports. Why I'm explaining this, guys? Because this is the only door, this is the only location from which application can be accessed. Data can be transmitted and received from this particular doors. So we need to know, if you are looking into the security part of the IoT, or if at all in any case of in any domain of the security part, in the entire gimmick of the, let's say, cyber security or information technology security, when we say that, right, these are the important things to understand, right? And that is why I just wanted to explain that 65,536 doors are there, and that is called as the ports. Okay, now what is these doors and ports? Are they physical? Are they have a key and lock? No, they don't have. Then what are they? These are the sockets. These are the logical doors, and this has been developed by using the socket programming. Okay, so if somebody is trying to access the application from the outside on the port number 80, that means the data will be transmitted from the 80 number port, and it will be given back on the door number 80. So when you see, basically, if your system is working on, your IoT application is working on the port number 80 or 8080 or 22 or 443, we no need to open all these doors. Why need to open all the doors if I don't want to use this? Why need to open this door if I don't want to use this one? So as per the security phenomena, what you need to do, guys, you have to close all these doors. Okay. So now we were discussing about hacking, how external person can hack the data which is used for the IoT or for any application in that matter. Okay, guys, so I was explaining that, right? So this is your server. So inside that server, this is your server, right? And inside that server, you have a LAN card. And very importantly, there is a data stored here in the hard disk. Somebody is want to access your machine because there is important data inside that. So what that person will do, it will get the IP address from the system. It knows that now once it gets the IP address, public IP address of that LAN card, then that person who is sitting outside will try to find out which are the open doors or open ports. And if that person founds or attacker founds or hacker founds the some of the doors are open or some of the ports are open, then it will start scanning the ports, and if at all any port which is running in this particular or transmitting or receiving the data in the plain text format, then what this hacker will do, this hacker will take out this data, it will start reading the packets, and if in any one of this packet, if that hacker finds the user ID and password, there are various tools to check the plain text data. Then that hacker can easily log in into the system and take out the data from the system without any issue, right? So this is the actual way. This is actually hacking. Hacking is nothing but finding out the IP address, finding out the which port is open, then trying to read the contents of packets, find out some of the packets may have in the header there will be some user ID and password, take out that user ID and password, decode that in case if it is not if it is plain text format, it is a plain format only, it is a text format, you can easily find out. You can use Wireshark also for that, or PCBDump command also will help you to get that one. And once you get the user ID and password, then you can easily steal the data from the system, right? So this data can be anything. This data can be your IoT data, this data can be your banking data, it can be anything, because finally everything is going to stored in this particular hard disk, and then this will be accessed from the some ports, doors, otherwise how you will access it, right? So this is the phenomena, this is the way hacker hacks the data. All other ways such as that phishing and all, they are not that kind of, they are like people trying to fool the people. But actually, technical speaking, if you want to really understand the hacking, you should be start thinking about how I can develop my packet, how I can read my packet, and all that stuff, right? All right, friends. So this is something about how data can be hacked from the outside. But the important thing is that how to protect it. Okay, so if you understand how to hack it, then you can easily understand how to protect it. So let me give you the standard practices which are followed in the IT industry to protect the data. Okay, so I will pause here in case anybody has any questions, any doubts, they can ask me right here. I'll just pause for 15 seconds, guys, 30 seconds. Any questions, any doubts? Do you see any questions in the chat box? Okay, all right, no problem. Let's move ahead. So, next discussion is that how to protect the data from the hackers, how to protect them, and what are the standard practices which has been used in the industry. Let me show you that. So, if you want to protect the data, important data of your system, first thing that you need to do, guys, is block all ports of LAN card. This is the first thing that you need to do. And how to do that? You have to use firewall. Firewall is the software, electronic device in which in electronic device the software has been installed, which performs the task of monitoring the ports and blocking the ports, activating the ports. So if somebody asks you what is a firewall, firewall is nothing but it is an electronic device which has a software which is used to protect the unauthorized access from the outside to the ports. So basically firewall, that is the first principle of the firewall, protect the ports, right, and nothing else. So there are different types of the firewalls are there, you can see that one, guys. And but important thing that you need to know, guys, if somebody want to work in the cyber security or IoT security kind of stuff, this is very important, guys, that you need to understand firewall IP tables. IP table is the it is the kernel level module, very close to operating system, maybe in the Raspberry Pi also, maybe in the your Linux operating system or some other operating systems as well, right? Unix operating system. This kernel level module it is very close to the IP kernel, and it is used to protect your unauthorized access. It works on the basically ports. So first thing is that in case you don't want to steal anything from your home, that make sure that close all the doors. But if you close all the doors, then how somebody else can access the data, right? So you need to open some ports. So open the ports which are required. Open the ports which are required, right? Then third thing that you need to do, guys. Okay, now once you open the port, so the basic thing, the important thing is that if you open the port, guys, then it is important that the data which is getting transmitted from the server or port should be encrypted. Third thing is that allow strong encryption on open ports. And this is important, guys, right? You need to work, right? You need to do the business, and you cannot keep everything shut down, right? You cannot close all the ports. You need to keep the some ports open because you need to access the website that is on the HTTP port or HTTPS port, right? So that means you need a port number 80 or port number 443 should be accessible, right? So allow strong encryption on open ports. Now we are going to discuss about this one after some time. What is the meaning of encryption and what encryption can be used in the IoT or any kind of networking, right? So fourth step, that is very important aspect, is that do not assign public IP address directly to production server LAN card. Important, right? See, basically, after some time, if somebody asks you a question that, look, there is one IoT, look that there is some IoT application running there, and there are 100 IoT devices are there, chips are there, and it is taking out the data, it is picking up the data and storing the server. Okay, so can you provide the security? So what normally current scenario people are using? There are a lot of tools are there, and we use and we download the SSL certificate, or we download the TLS certificate, and we just apply that one. But the problem is that what are they and what is the use of that one? That is important to understand, and that's why this is the fundamental session I'm trying to give you. Otherwise, a lot of things are there on the cloud and cloud technologies and everything. So I thought to take this one to discuss with you. So do not assign public IP address directly to production servers LAN card. So what is the meaning of public IP address and what is the meaning of private IP address? And read this sentence carefully, that do not assign public IP address directly to production server LAN card. That means I am saying that do not use public IP address. That means use private IP address. So if at all you are going to use a private IP address, then how you are going to access it from the internet? So what is the difference between public IP address and private IP address? So public IP address is nothing but it is the IP which is accessible over the internet, right? And what is private IP address? Private IP address is in short, in nothing but it is the IP address which is not accessible over the internet. So it is in the closed loop, it is in the private LAN or something like that, right? So this is important definition, guys. Please keep this in mind, that public IP address is nothing but the IP address which is accessible over the internet. And what is the, can I access your laptop now from my place? No, right? Okay. So So now, so what is the private IP address? Private IP address is nothing but IP address which is not accessible over the internet. Okay, so if I want to access your laptop, I can't access it, right? Because it is not having a public IP address. But if I want to access the google.com server, I can access it, right? So that is the meaning of public IP address and private IP address. And all the IoT devices need to assign the IP addresses, right guys? So this technology will be there also. Everywhere this is required. This is a common networking issues, guys, I'm going to discuss. And specifically for IoT, this is important because data is very, very critical. Now, so if at all you don't want to, if at all let's say you don't want to use the public IP address, then how you are going to access the server? So let me show you important stuff. Let me show you diagrammatically how this has to be solved. Okay, so think about that. This is your server, which has a very important data, IoT data, very important critical things are there, and there is a LAN card to this one. And what I said that do not assign public IP address, but we need to assign a private IP address, and we assign the IP address to the LAN card, right? Private IP address. And if you assign the private IP address, then this is not accessible over the internet. If this can be accessible in the LAN, it's local loop. There might be some other device here, some switch will be there, some another server will be there. Okay, some router will be there. From this place you can access because these all are on the same LAN. That's why it is accessible in the with the help of private LAN. Okay, private IP address. But if you want to allow the data which is residing inside to the user over the mobile phone or over the internet, then how you can do it? So whenever different users from mobile phone or from browser or from some other devices, if they are trying to access the data, all requests will come on firewall. So there is a device called as a firewall device. All the requests will come on the firewall on the some port. Let's say this is a port number, let's say 80. On the port number 80 of the firewall, all these requests are coming up. Then what you need to do, then firewall forwards this request from this LAN card to this LAN card's port number, let's say 80 again, or maybe different port number, or maybe you can use this as a 443 port number, which is a secure for HTTPS, right? And then you forward the traffic which is coming on the port number 443 to the port number 80 inside the private IP address, inside the server. This concept is called as the port forwarding. So what is happening? The outside people are not directly accessing your private IP address or application. They can't do it. So what you can do, you can direct the traffic to this particular LAN card, and from this LAN card you can forward the traffic to the internal LAN card port, and from this application will be data will be retrieved and again back to the firewall and then to the users. So this is actually port forwarding. But what this concept is called as? This concept is called as NATing. NAT. This is network address translation. So what do we achieve with the network address translation? This is also part of the security, guys. What do we achieve with the network address translation? We can protect all the internal IP addresses from outside world. No one of us even don't know what is the actual IP address of the google.com or in that matter sbi.com. All these IP addresses which we have received from by using this NSLOOKUP command, which I have shown you right here, they are not the actual IP address of the servers. They are actually the IP addresses of the outside device, that is firewall or load balancer in that matter. Are you getting it, guys? All right. So what do? We can protect the internal devices by using the NATing aspect, that is called as the network address translation, and that's why assign the public IP address to this one. Assign the public IP address of the firewall and then map the public IP address with your domain name and give it to the users. So whatever the data will come to this particular public IP address, and from that one it will redirect it to the private IP addresses, and by using this one, data is protected. You are narrowing down the risk, right? Rather than directly, and if you think about that, this is not there, and everybody is trying to access this one. This is little bit risky, right? Everybody is trying to access the direct port of the LAN card. This is a risky stuff. So you are avoiding it. You are minimizing the risk by putting one more firewall in front of it. All right. So this is the meaning of that third statement or fourth statement which I have used. Okay, assign a private IP address directly to the LAN card of the production server and not public IP address. I hope that you understood this concept. Do not assign public IP address directly to production server LAN card. Now, next important thing is that, and that you need to follow, is that keep the server in or database or whatever the important thing is, that is in the DMZ mode. What is DMZ? DMZ stands for demilitarized zone. And if you keep the devices in DMZ mode, it is highly protected. So what is the meaning of DMZ? Let me explain you that. So consider one scenario that your server is having a very, very important data. Let me show you here. What is the meaning of DMZ? Consider this is a server, and this server is having a very, very critical data, important data. So what you should do, you should keep this server in demilitarized zone. That is what is the meaning of that. Let's say you are the internal user or you are the employee of the organization and you want to access. So you are the employee here. This is your server and you want to access the server for your maintenance purpose. Whatever means the reason, and you want to access that. So you have to log into the laptop. First of all, log into the laptop by using a VPN connection or something like that. From the laptop, you have to log into the router or switch, nearby switch. Then from that one, you have to log into the another server. And from that server, you have to again log into the another switch or router. And from that router, you can access this server. So even though you are the employee of this organization, if you want to access the, and there will be some firewalls here. There will be this firewall will be there. There will be one more firewall here. There will be another firewall here. So if somebody has to crack the even though outside user is there, that user has to also do the same thing. Okay, that data will be transmitted in this way only and transmitted back that this way only. So what is the meaning of demilitarized zone? Demilitarized zone is nothing but keeping the server in such a zone that nobody will have a direct access. Any user or any employee, if they want to access the server or take the data from that one, they need to hop from one network to another network, and this is called as the DMZ mode. That is called as a demilitarized zone. This is the one of the zone of the firewall. Okay, DMZ is the one of the zone of the firewall. So there are different zones such as public zone is there, work zone is there, then there is a home zone is there, then blocked zone is there, then there is internal zone, external zone. These are the different zones available. Okay, so one of them is a DMZ. And what is the DMZ? So this is a demilitarized zone, and if you want to access that device from the outside or from the internal network, you need to hop the network from one place to another place, and then you will get the access. And every time you want to access, you need a multi-factor authentication, MFA. So first of all, you need to use user ID and password, then you will get a token or something like that, and then you will enter it the data, then you will get the access to the server, and that way we can secure. You can make this server secure, or you can make the IoT data very, very secure. Right, guys? So this is the meaning of keeping the server in DMZ mode. I hope that this is clear, guys. If you have any questions, any concerns, any doubts, you can ask me. I'm just pausing for 30 seconds here. All right, so please ask me if you have any questions. All right, friends. I hope that you guys are able to understand what I'm trying to explain you, and it is useful for you, right? So what next thing that I would like to explain you that what is that encryption thing? So let me explain you that, guys. Do you have any questions moving further? If anybody would like to ask anything, all right. So let me explain you the third point. Uh, One second. There is one question asked: is it like DMZ zone are intended to function as a sort of buffer? A buffer zone. Yeah, you know, there is a military word. This actually DMZ is a military word. So if there is a international border is there, across there is some land here, this side, okay, which is called as a no man's land, right? And if somebody goes here, then there are direct shootout orders are there. This is something like that one. Okay, so you can say buffer zone. Buffer zone is nothing but where we cannot nobody should have a direct access. If that is the meaning of buffer zone, yes, that then it is correct. All right, thank you for asking that question. DMZ zone has to be created at the firewall level, at the backend level. So wherever you can have the data gathering process happening, in front of that you can put the DMZ mode. So before making the data live to the world from the IoT devices, make sure that it should pass through the gate, this one, firewall and gateway. Yeah. Can we encrypt the data transferred from the sensors to gateway? Yeah, that is true. You can do it. That is very important. Yes, we can do that. So you need to gather that data and you have to apply the firewall functions, encryption, and then you can send it. That is the operating system layer. You can do it because every electronic device which has a sensor needs 1 MB of operating system, and inside that 1 MB of operating system you can put firewall. So before transmitting the data, let me show you like this one. It is a good question actually. The way you ask the question is very nice question. Let me just answer the question. So consider this is a sensor here. Now you cannot directly put this is a sensor. Let's say some sensor is here, and you have attached this sensor to some device, electronic device, because you need to gather the data. Sensors cannot transmit the data directly. They can just sense the data and it can be converted, right? You can using a transducer. So now that data has to be processed, right? For processing, you will use some Arduino device or some other ARM processor, right here. And to see, final that processor is a non-living thing. To run that non-living thing, you require some software, and that software is sitting inside this one. That is called as the operating system. That is called as the operating system, correct? Now, if you want to access this operating system or this data from, and now the data, let's say the data is now taken from this sensor. You have kept the data somewhere here, and now you want to transmit the data somewhere in the server here. Now you can apply the local IP tables or local firewall concept here. Local firewall concept. Encrypt the data here, or use SSH, or use some SHA, or use some SSL, something like that. I will show you that how to encrypt the data also, and then you can push that data to the server over the internet. So before actually giving the data out from this particular Arduino device or some whatever the device it is called as, okay, when it is data is going outside the operating system, it's that it will encrypt the data and then it will transmit the data. So it is very much possible, guys. It is very much possible. But for that purpose, you need to have the knowledge of the operating system and firewall before working on this one. Because since this is having a very low RAM and low storage here, putting the huge devices not going to work here. And for that purpose, you need to have the very thorough knowledge of the IP tables, right? And then if you have the knowledge, you can enable the IP tables, which is not more than 1 MB also, let's say, because the entire kernel is 6 MB, right? And there are operating systems which are very hardly 10 MB operating systems also. So you should know how to cut down the operating systems and put that hard operating system inside this device with the security, so that whenever the data is transmitted with the help of some GSM card or some data or something else, some wireless medium, it will be secure. Okay. So I hope that is clear to you guys. Cool. No new questions. Thank you very much. Now, uh, so I was discussing about this point. So I hope that you got this. Keep the servers in DMZ mode. So what is the meaning of third point? Allow strong encryption on open ports. So what does that mean? Allow strong encryption on open ports. So everybody now, since most of the engineering candidates or students or any technical students know about the encryption. They have heard about this word many times, right? But let me tell you just briefly in my way what is encryption. Okay, so in shortly, consider that you want to transmit the data called as, let's say, hello. This is the word I want to transmit. But what I am going to do, I am going to add some impurity into it. Impurity is nothing but some encryption, some encryption algorithm. Okay, so what I'm going to do, look at this now. I will be using something like that. Okay, and now I'm putting some impurity inside that. I'm adding impurity, and finally you can see that this is the impurity created, and now data has to be transmitted like this one. I can add something, anything that guys. I'm just putting some random values here. Okay. Now actual word is hello. This is my plain text format. Correct. This is my plain text format. Hello. What I did, I added some impurity with some algorithm. Now see what has created. This has created a very nice encryption, right? This is called as the cipher code. This is called as a cipher. And now when you add, okay, and now let's say this data has been transmitted by using some transmission media, okay, and now it is received at some location, it is received at some server. Then what you will do? Then you will take an input as a cipher code, okay, and then there will be some decryption algorithm similar based on this encryption algorithm, and then you will get a actual word back from this. This word will come here. So there are various techniques available. There are error correcting codes and other techniques are available that need to be followed. But what is the encryption? Encryption is nothing but adding some impurity into the actual plain text format so that it can generate the cipher code. Okay, and that cipher code will be transmitted over the internet by using some medium, and then it will be received at the destination, and then that impurity will be removed. That is called as remove the impurity from the cipher code is called as a decryption. Then you will get the actual word called as hello, right? And so that is basically encryption is all about, and this entire technology is called as a encryption, and decryption technology is called as a cryptography. Okay, this is not a big definition or better definition from others, but I tried to explain in my own. I hope that you understood this. Now, how to add this impurity? How we can add impurity into impurity is nothing but what? Some bits. Some bits matlab how much? How many bits? Somebody says that no, this is my 256 bit encryption. So that means your impurity is 256 bit. Somebody says that it is a 512 bit. Somebody says that no, it is 1024 bit. Somebody says that it is 2048 bits. Somebody says that it is 4096 bits. That is what I know now. Okay. So that many bits you are adding into actual data, then it is come encrypted and then it is transmitted over the internet, right? There is a big thing to do. Okay, so how we I would like to show you the different examples by practically that how we can create our own encryption methodologies, right? So let me try to show you that, guys. So first thing is that how we can check the integrity. I hope that this is understood, that allow strong encryption on open ports. That means you are going to encrypt, and that is done by using some of the thing called as SSL certificate, or TLS certificate people are using it, or there is AES is there. There are a lot of stuff, that is elliptical algorithm is there, ECS, ECDSA is there. Okay, then there is RSA is there. Lot of algorithms are guys there which we can use. Some of them I will try to show you here, that how we can create it, right? Encryption. So let's try it. How people create the SSL certificate. If somebody asks you to create your own SSL certificate, how you can create that one? So whenever we see something, some on the website sites, you see the log there. So how to get that log? And sometimes you'll see that there is a crossbar on the log. What is the meaning of that? So let me explain you that as well. So in the IoT phenomena, since the data is transmitting over the internet and using a layer 7 transmission way to move from the local domains or local site to the internet, and from the internet to the mobile, it is happening over the RESTful APIs, as well as it is happening over all the layer 7 protocols, right? Application layer. So that's why these protocols are important, and this is same protocol, same encryptions are used for all applications, including IoT application. Okay, so now let me try to show you that. Let's say that, consider one scenario, guys. I would like to show you, explain you something. We'll go one by one. Think about the one situation that you have downloaded one package. So one package is available on the internet. Okay, so you have downloaded some package. Just giving the example so that you can use the same thing in the IoT field also. And there is one package. Let's say that package name is HTTP, or maybe some application, HTTP application. You have downloaded this, and now once you download this in the system server, okay, how you can confirm that it is the same application? How you can confirm that nobody has done the eavesdropping? Okay, there is no man in middle attack happen on this one. In short, how you can check the integrity of the file? Okay, guys. So let me explain in this example practically, that I'm going to show you something called as a checksum ability to check the integrity of the file, and then I will show you how to use the how to create the public keys and private keys, as well as I will try to show you how we can create your own SSL certificate. Okay, so let us try. Okay, so let me go to the server, and I need a couple of minutes to access this server, guys. Just give me 2 minutes of time. This is my Linux machine, and I can integrate this machine to the IoT devices anywhere in the world, not an issue. And let me access this machine from my my Windows machine. This is Linux. It is in the virtual box. So let me try to change the IP address of this machine first of all, and so that I will be able to do something. So I'm going to assign the IP address called as 37.249/20. This is my network in my office. Then 10.32.177.32.1 is a gateway, and rest of the things are same. And guys, since you know this one, I am not going to explain how to do this, but if at all anybody is not able to, oh, I'm so sorry, it will take some time. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to access this from the Windows, that is called as a putty, and I will use the IP address here 10.177.37.249, and it should be accessible over the internet, over the putty. Yes, I can access it. And now this is my user ID and password. I am going to show you the integrity check. Let me change the settings so that you can see it properly. Let me make it a little bit better font, as well as some colors. Let me make it green so that on black screen, green color will look better. So this is my one of the server. Okay, now let's say that there is one file called as etc password. You can see that this is my etc password file. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a I'm going to copy this file to show you how to check the integrity. So I'm copying this file from this location to, let's say I'm copying in the home folder as, let's say, uh, vadapav.txt, right? This way. I'm copying this file as well. So I have copied this password file as vadapav.txt, and you can see here ls-l etc password. This is the file is there also, and the copied file is also there. I'm showing you how to check the integrity of the file, because both these files are same, right? Now, how we can say that these two files are same? That means we can say confirmly that these two files are same when the checksums are same. There are contents are same. If there is only a single white space also, if you add, then its checksum will get changed. So let me show you the command called as md5 sum, which is used to check the checksum of the original file. So this is my checksum. This is 32 bit. I got it. Now I can use md5 sum, and this is my file which is copied, downloaded, you can see, and these are the exact the same to same 32 bit checksum is there. But if I just change, if I open the file home.vadapav.txt, this is a copied file, and let's say that I am adding something called as just one blank line. I'm adding, I'm not changing any content, just adding the one blank line, and now see here md5 sum vadapav. You will be able to see that this is a different checksum altogether. So if you are downloading any file, or if you are passing file from IoT device to your server, and if you want to check whether that file is corrupted or whether that file is modified by some other person, okay, or some other hacker, how you can check the integrity? And to check the integrity, you can use the simple logic or algorithm called as the md5 sum. I hope that this is clear to you guys. Okay, so whenever you are trying to transfer the data from your device, IoT device, which is somewhere in the field, and this is the server on the cloud, okay, and there will be some connectivity between this to this side, wired or wireless communication over the internet, and if you are transferring the A file from this to as a B file here, you need to check the contents of the md5 sum of this file, and this file is all right. If it is okay, then you can say that data is intact. Nobody has played with that data. So this is a very simple mechanism, but very useful mechanism to check the file integrity. All right, guys. So next thing is that I would like to show you is how to create your public keys and private keys. Okay, so one second, guys. I would like to open one more file that I would like to show you. Okay, no problem. So how to create your own public keys and private keys? Look at this, guys. So I can use SSH-keygen. So I'm generating one key by using RSA algorithm. Okay, it is a Reed-Solomon algorithm. I'm using it. I can provide the 4096 bit and all that stuff, but it's okay. Now I'll just show you like this and enter. So it shows that it is generating a public and private RSA key pair. Okay, so whenever you are trying to communicate, when this will be useful, guys, private key and public key, when you are trying to communicate your IoT devices to the internet on the AWS or Azure or somewhere else, you need this key. Otherwise, data transmission, every data transmission, they will ask you for the password, and you cannot sit there to enter the password every time. So you need, and you cannot make it passwordless also. And if you make it passwordless, you have to make sure that the communication between your IoT device to the server is in the encrypted format. And to make that happen, you have to use this technology, guys. Okay, so I am now creating public and private key, which will be stored in this location on the server. I can enter here. So it is saying already there, that's fine. It is asking me for the passphrase. What is the difference between password and passphrase? This question is normally asked many times. So password can be one word with different characters, but passphrase can be an entire stanza also. Okay, it can have multiple white spaces. Okay, that is called as a passphrase. So I'm not going to give any passphrase right now here. And now see, it has created the keys. It has created the public key here as id_rsa.pub, and this is a private key. Okay, so let me show you that how to see that one. So I'm going to use cat command root.ssh id underscore RSA, and now see here guys, this is the private key, right? You can see this is RSA. This is the way we can create a key. And now let me show you the public key also. This is .pub, and now this is my public key. So this is very simple format which I have shown you that guys, how we can use this, how to create the private key and public key. Now this is really useful guys. So if I want to access another server without password but in encrypted format, I can use it, because this is the SSH is the secure shell and it transmits the data in the secure format itself. Okay, so it uses all these keys. Right, so I will show you that one more, what are the different algorithms it is using. So for your knowledge, you will understand. It can use, let's say, multiple stuffs are there. Okay, let me open it file so that I can show it to you. Okay, so this is one. We can, if you want to change the port number, guys, you can change the port number also. For every application, you can change the port also. No need. See, this is the keys. This is security keys. We can pass on RSA key, DSA key, ECDSA key, and ED25519 key. This can be used while transmitting the data. Okay, what I was saying that if somebody says that my website is running on the port number 18, can you change it to the port number 420? Yes, you can change it. You can change the working of your websites or your IoT application on the different port also. Don't keep the standard ports. Keep the different ports so that a hacker will not understand on which port your website is running. Similarly, I can change the secure shell also. If somebody is trying to access my server with the SSH port, I will change this to the something called as 9090 or 2222 so that people will not understand on which port the system is running. So this is also one of the way you can secure the system. Now, another important thing that I want to show you that how to create your own SSL keys. So I'm going to use OpenSSL. Okay. Algorithm to create this one. So I have one command to show you guys that how we can create the SSL certificate. Look, let me show you that command. I have that command. It is a little bit bigger command, so I thought to copy it directly from my notepad because it is created here. I can show you this command. Yeah, this is OpenSSL. Yeah, sorry. You can see this command. I will enter the details later on, but see here, this is OpenSSL request new. It uses the X509 directory structure protocol nodes, and this is showing that where you want to store the key. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to store in the PKI TLS certs document location. This key will be available, and where you want to create another key. So this will be created inside this same location. But this is my PW training LDAP key. This is my PW training LDAP.pem. So .pem files are required when you access the AWS system also. Okay, and how many days you want this certificate to be valid? You can use 365 days. That means for 1 year. If you want it for more time, you can use multiply by 2, whatever you want to, how many days you want to enable this SSL certificate, you can enable it, right? So that is the way people are doing the business, right? SSL certificate creation. So let me enter my country. I can use my country here because to create the certificate, you need to provide some data, and that should be unique for your organization. It should not be shared with anybody else, right? So it will create a big stuff. So this is my, okay, in which province you are working? Let's say I am in Maharashtra, something like that. Then which locality? Let's say I am in Mumbai. Which organization? Let's say I am in Prior. Okay, then which organization unit I am in, let's say IT. What is the server name that for that you are looking for? So I can give anything, pw.com. What is the email address? Let me type here ramesh@priorworld.com. This is my email ID, let's say. And here guys, it is created. This command has created the SSL certificate. And how to check that? You can go to this location. Here, you will be able to see. Let me do the ls-ltr to show you the recent files And look at this. This has created my SSL keys. Look, let me open these keys for you. Look, this is my certificate. I can use this certificate, and this is my key. I can use this to access it. This is my private key. Is it possible to decrypt this one? No, not possible. What organization I have added, what provenance I have added, or whatever the information I have added, it is nobody knows that, right? And now if I apply this SSL certificate to any website, this can be applied, right? This can be applied, guys. This is the way it is actually created. Okay, and once you apply this certificate, but what will happen here, the way you see the let's say www.google.com, and you see the lock here. Okay, why this lock is shown here? Because it is a valid certificate, it is not a invalid certificate. But if you apply my SSL certificate, which I have created right now here, then it will show you the cross sign. It will show the lock, but it will show that it is insecure and cross sign will be shown. The reason is that this SSL certificate need to be authorized by authorities, such as certificate authorities are there. So there are so many certificate authorities across the globe. So you can write here certificate authorities, and you will come to know that which are the certificate authorities for SSL, and you can see list. So lot of certificate authorities are there, and you need to send this certificate which you have created to these organizations, and these organizations then they put their code, some code inside that. So you can see they are using the same scenario which I told you right now. You have to create a certificate, and then the CA authority will validate that identity, and then validated identity will be sent back to you. And once you apply that certificate, then you will see that black color. There won't be any cross sign. In short, if you create a SSL certificate and apply that one, even though if you see their cross sign, it is validated. It is a secure. It is tough to crack it. But as per the business point of view, they are adding some authorities into it, so to make and some other code inside it, so that it will make a more secure, and then it will be the lock will be removed. And they say that authorized by this organization, authorized by that organization. That is the way this works. I hope that this particular stuff, that how to create SSL certificate and how to create RSS certificate, I hope that is clear with you. I'm just pausing for 1 minute, 30 seconds, guys. If anybody has any question, doubts, let me know that. All right, friends. Okay, so if anybody is interested to have these commands, organizers can contact me. I can give it separately to you. Then you can pass on. All right. So this is what I wanted to explain you guys here. See here, block all ports of LAN cards. How you can do it? You can use IP tables. So to block the ports, you have to use IP tables. And how to check the IP tables? If at all these IP tables are available, you can see these are the different IP tables available. So here you can see the rules. Accept rule is there, what is accepted and what is not accepted. This is TCP protocol, UDP protocol, and everything is given here, guys. So it is very important when we say that I want to become some cyber security or something like that. It is important that you need to understand this TCP, UDP, and all that stuff. Okay, because only using the tools doesn't make you a cyber security expert. Okay, you have to go through the packet layer, protocol layer, understand that, and then use it. That will make you a strong person. Okay, so basically in the IP table, if you see any firewall in the world, okay, any firewall, which are the different organization provides the firewall. So that firewalls can be used in the IoT application, banking application, anywhere, right, guys? So there is Cisco organization is there, right? There are big organizations like Juniper is there, F5 is there. So many organizations are there which manufactures the firewall. And in that firewall, the fundamental thing is IP tables. The fundamental thing is IP tables. There are three IP tables basically. One is NAT, another one is a filter, and third one is mangle. These are the three important tables are there, and these tables, three tables work on different chains, and the chains are, which are the chains available? Input chain, output chain, then there is a forward chain, then there is post routing and pre-routing. Oh, right, pre-routing. Okay, so these are the 5 chains on which this table works. And if you want to block something or if you want to allow something, you have to work on these chains, guys. Are you getting it? So if at all I want to block something, what I can do, I am not going to execute the command because my system will go down, or I may start, I can use this command IP tables -a, I can use input command -j, that is action, and let me use accept command, so everything will be accepted. If I write here drop, then nobody will be able to access my system from the outside. That is the input chain. If you work on the input chain, that no traffic will be allowed inside to my machine from the outside. Then specifically, if I want to allow something, I can use some other parameters. I can add some more parameters to this line to make to enable the things, right? So this is called as input chain. I want to block something which is going out, so I can IP tables. I can use command like, let's say -o, and output, can use this output chain -j and allow, or I can say reject. I can use this command. So whatever the traffic is going out of my LAN card will be stopped. But if I have specifically, I want to allow for some IP addresses, I can give the name of the IP addresses with some parameters here, and it will allow me the traffic to reach to that particular system. Matlab, from my system only two machines should be, traffic should go. So that is done by using the IP tables, right? So you can use IP tables in the firewall. This is actually a soul of the firewall, guys. So if you at all you are looking into cyber security area or a security area in the information technology domain, make sure that you are comfortable and you understand the IP tables thoroughly. This is very important, and based on that one, all the firewalls are designed. So if you are going to work in the firewall team, or if you are working in some networking team, this is the most important part of that, guys. Okay, friends. So what I did, I explained you the basic fundamentals of the IoT network security. I tried my best to explain you guys this one. In that one, just let's overview the things that what we have done in the next couple of minutes. So I started with explanation about what are the IoT, what is the meaning of IoT, that we have, and I have explained you the one use case, that if athletes use the IoT chips in their body at different places, you can take the data from the chips and then you can store in the server cloud, and you can take the data on the mobile phone to find out what is the way they are performing. You can use nice graphs on that one to, and do the good amount of analytics on that one to find out how you can improve the performance of the athletics. That is one of the way. You can also use in the firefighting devices, so that what will happen, guys, in the firefighting devices, if you use, you don't have to send the actual fire person over there. That can be managed by the in case you are if you find some fire is happening with the help of some sensors, you can send the drones to use the firefighter job to make the firefighters of that. Okay, so that is another use case. You can use in the medical industry, you can use the agriculture industry. In agriculture industry, that is, it has a lot of scope, guys, that in the, you can find out the, but that is the one use case everybody is nowadays discussing about, that how we can plan the water to the plants, right? So whenever there is a moisture level going down below some sensor temperature, you pour some more water, and that can be, you with the help of IoT you can do that stuff, right? So we have discussed about some use cases, Then we have discussed about networking part, IoT networking, that if you want to fetch some data, you have to use some sort of communication media such as wireless or wired communication media to gather all the data inside one switch or sub router, and then you can forward that to the some of the data. So you can create a staging area, because you may have a multiple locations where your IoT devices are planted, and if you want to take out the data, so you have to create your local devices there, take out the data on that local devices, and from that devices you can push the data to the server, so you can get a real-time data also over there with very minute nanoseconds or microsecond delay. You can produce the good amount of live data to the users for analysis. Okay, so then we have discussed about these 5 points, that how data can be, how hacking actually done. So to get hacking is done by using the IP addresses and then the ports of the LAN card, and if at all any ports are open, then that packets can be read, and that packets can be read, and data can be taken out from the packets, and then machine can be hacked easily. So how we can block that one? So we have discussed about these 4 to 5 points. You can use block all ports of LAN card, open the ports which are required, allow strong encryption on open ports, do not assign public IP address directly to production server LAN card, to keep the server in DMZ. These are the standard procedures which are used in the IT industry. That's why still our data is safeguarded, guys, right? And also I have shown you how to create RSA key. Also I have shown you how to create the SSL certificate and how to check the file integrity while transferring the data from one place to another place. I hope that I tried to make you understand the network security part of the in the domain of the IoT technology, IoT domain, but same thing can be applicable over all the domains. All right, friends. So if at all you have any questions, I have 3 to 4 more minutes to go. But if at all you have any question, please ask me. Now, having said that, I'm just closing my technical session right now here. But if you have, I'm just keeping this 2 minutes open for any questions, answers, and then you can wind up the session. Thank you very much, guys. You can ask me questions. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, sir, for your enlightening and informative session on the topic of IoT network security. Sir, we really appreciate your effort for giving in-depth practical knowledge and making session more interesting with the real-time diagrams and explanation. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So now there is one question from the participants. The question is, can firewall detect viruses?
Yeah, there is a technology called as the IPS and IDS. Okay, and in the IPS and IDS technology, that is called the intrusion prevention and detection system, as well as there are known viruses that can be blocked. So we can do the content filtering. Okay, and if at all it is performing you can set that there is a CPU utilization is going more than certain threshold value, you can block that particular process. Okay, as such, if there is a new virus is developed by somebody and it is just new and not that definition is not defined in the firewall, it is tough to identify. Okay, but if it is defined and if it is certain conditions are it is following some certain conditions, we can block that at fire level. That is called as the content filtering, as well as blocking the processes which are unwanted, blocking the IP addresses which are creating the network poisoning kind of stuff. Okay.
Okay, sir. So we are giving you a small token of appreciation, a virtual memento from IT department of Shahan Ankar Kutchi Engineering College. So please accept this memento from us.
Yeah, thank you very much, madam. Thank you very much. It is nice moment actually.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful sessions. And I hope all the participants have got in-depth knowledge on the IoT security topics. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. Take care, guys, and have a nice time. Bye.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Now all the participants, the feedback link will be available in Q&A section, as well as it will be posted on the WhatsApp group. And the next session will start at 2 p.m. Thank you so much, everyone.